Alright, hello once again. In this version of this Filter Forge tutorial, I'll show you how to make this geometric abstract. Filter Forge is great for many things, but one thing that I found that I like to do is make crazy looking abstracts. And the more arty, the better. They just look kind of neat. I have already constructed this filter, and I'll walk you through the steps of how to build it. But first, a little bit about the end result. Well, as you see, we get crazy looking abstract. The colors, we get 5 colors. Not all colors will show on the abstract itself when you use them. It just depends on the other settings that you use. For instance, this one, as you can see, the color 1 doesn't show, but once we use these other settings, it'll show itself eventually. We don't want to update DivX. Show you some of the angles. Just kind of get a different look on it. And the origin, we'll just move it from left to right, just the 2 squares, as you can see. What's neat about this is you can have a different look. And that this filter was by design this way. And rotation, it rotates the 2 squares. To give you this cool effect here. These different shapes. And the angle actually moves the entire image. It gives you different shapes. You can even use the variation. It'll give you a different look. You can use the next variant. You can just keep clicking until your heart's content, or you find something that you like, or find something and kind of modify it a little bit. Or you can even save it as a preset and render it out per print. Alright, about the construction, let's go to that. So you want to open up the filter editor and go create a filter. But I'm actually going to edit this filter. And I'll walk you through steps of how to create it. Out of all the other filter abstracts that I did, this is another one of those that is not too fairly complicated. The loop component does all the heavy lifting pretty much. When you add a loop component and you click on the add accumulated, this line follows where the accumulated is located, and that line indicates that this accumulated component is associated with this loop component. So first thing you want to do is go to the components and advanced, and this is where you'll find the loop component. So you can drag that to your workspace, and then select the loop component and say add accumulated. Click on that button, and iterations you can put at 14, and we're going to leave it there and we won't touch it at all. So that's exactly where we want it. If you go back to the accumulated, you can put the preview at 7. So once we connect everything, we want to be able to see our progress. Now at this point, let me zoom in. On the accumulated component, you want to add a rotate. We're going to have that at a default size on the anchor, and the origin Y is at the default of 0.5. And some of our settings that we can mess with in the main window is you're going to add 2 value controls. One for the rotation and one for the offset, or the origin X, which we put the position of the left and right. So once you have those in place, you can move on to the next thing, which is the checker pattern. And you could place the rotate and connect it to the color 2 of the checker pattern. So this will give us our different sections of the abstract that move and that rotate. So once you have that in place, what we're going to do is add a hue and saturation. And the saturation is at 40. The lightness is at 2. And then on this hue saturation, we're going to, on the hue portion of it, of the component, we're going to connect a Perlin noise. And that, we're going to connect a step curve to the profile gradient, or to the profile of the Perlin noise. And the step is, settings on that is, threshold is at 50, smooth is at 0, and shape is at 100. The Perlin noise itself, settings are, the noise is white, background is black. The roughness you want to put at 20, contrast you want to put at 0. Scale is at 300, details are 100, variation is 1. And then on the stretch and the angle, you can put some more, put 2 slider controls, one to control the stretch, one to control the angle, and the angle is at 44. This will give us some more controls to mess with when we're done with the filter, and in the main window of Filter Forge we can mess about and get some more variations of abstracts. And this Perlin noise will ultimately be the other 2 parts of our 4 square window, and will also run into the other squares where the the checker was controlling or connected. So we'll get that nice blend of different shapes in each square, and it'll kind of break up the image a bit to make it more interesting looking. And once you have all that together, it should look something like this. But once we connect it to the loop, it should look something like this. Next in line is the blend component, and you want the opacity at 100, and the mode is going to be normal. And you want to connect the hue to the foreground, and grab yourself a spectrum gradient, which is right there. Connect that to the background. We really don't need it, but sometimes a loop works better when you have a blend right before the loop. So now once you have that in place, you can connect it to the accumulator portion of the loop component. As you can see from the blend, so you can look at the image, and if you look at the loop, it'll give us a nice looking abstract in all four corners. Don't really like the color though. You can leave it if you want. But what I did is I connected an elevation gradient along with the 5 color gradient. And the numbers on the 5 color gradient are the positions. Our position 1 is 10. You got position 2 is 30. Position 3 is 50. Position 4 is 70. Position 5 is 90. That'll give us a nice color flow right there. You connect that to the gradient portion of the elevation gradient, and you want to connect the loop to the elevation. And I'll give you a nice color right there. And don't forget to connect your color controls, otherwise you can't change colors in the main window. That you can find down below or in the controls section of the components. And once you're done, go ahead and connect that to the result. And go filter, edit filter info, go ahead and name it whatever you want. And don't forget to save filter. If you did everything right, then you should have all your controls. And you can go ahead and play with it or see what kind of results you can get from it. Oh, that's it for this one.